Excellent. Now let me just spend few moments to just speak with you. I'm going to cover the following topics. Let me first of all deliberate on the need for transfer of knowledge. What we have done, as your chairman, Mr. Chisela, told me, talk about what you do. What you do is what comes out best. And I'm going to talk about what we do. In all this facade of things, what is it that you and I would like to achieve? Transfer of knowledge is critical. When you are living abroad in the diaspora, like Nehemiah, he identified a cause back where he came from to go and address. Therefore, he sought permission to leave the diaspora base where he was working to go back home. He went back home with resources. But now, how do we apply this in our own lives today? This is what Amaka Awingi did address. We looked at a few things that we wanted to look at. Number one, addressing the area of investment. A knowledge that we Zambians and many Africans probably that have made have not much idea. Although we do trade, there wasn't much education on the actual entrepreneurship. So on the linking of education there, we have developed programs that can address the actual practical work that mirrors me here, John Lukomona, or you here, Mr. Chisela, and somebody else on the ground in Zambia or anywhere in Africa. So we do what we call a dual mirror, and you link a project together at foundational, personal level, then into corporate. Family level, most of you do it. It doesn't work very well. Which is why in the book that we have, Every Zambian is a Millionaire, we have addressed how to work with families. I'd like you to order that book. So in that way, we structure an idea that we begin to mirror and connect it to a project development in a structure. What do we mean a structure? They must belong over there to an association or a community business that brings checks and balances together. We did a number of these things, and if you want to look at the structures, we can talk. So that way, we begin to educate people on the ground, and also don't forget that because you've been so far away from home for many years, you also need education to be re-educated about your own country. Who are the best people to educate you? It is those on the ground with sincere organizational skills. That's point number one on education. Now, we also looked at some of these pieces of knowledge needs to be accredited, which is why the West Midlands Open College comes into being and effect. Because it is our idea, we will structure it in a way we think it's working within our realm of influence. For example, the entrepreneurship program that we do run through the college, those who go through it formally and go through assessment gets accredited and gets certified. And then on top of that, we see the opportunity because we are living abroad here, we have also sought to accredit other courses like teaching qualifications, like you see on the leaflets, so that people, as they come on board, they can also acquire other qualifications that will empower them or license them to transfer knowledge. That's very important. And don't be in a hurry. So as a member of a diaspora, I believe that you ought to look at what resources you have here and which of these resources are transferable, and also what sort of things are transferable from Zambia into Scotland, from Zambia into England, from Zambia into Wales, and so forth. Now, being in Scotland, you got to look at what all sort of things are transferable both ways, because you must understand that if you are here now in Scotland and you set up a business, a commercial entity that begins to make a profit for the Scottish people, it will contribute to the GDP, gross domestic product. Now, when you set up this company here, you must mirror it for transfer of skills back home in Zambia. And you set up another company in Zambia that will also be contributing to the GDP of Zambia, gross domestic product. Now, what happens that because you are in two countries performing, when you import knowledge from Zambia or export knowledge to Zambia, there will be what we call gross national product. You are contributing to the income. You are now creating an importable product from Zambia into Scotland. Some of you want to start importing maybe, I don't know, foodstuffs into Scotland. I don't know what things you want to do. Anything that is viable and legal. Once you do that, you begin to contribute to both nations. And in fact, I can put a punchline. That would be also at the benefit of dual citizenship. The legalities that forbid you because it was not allowed to be a dual citizen in Zambia has been removed. And because of those removal, it means that you can go to another level of your engagement because there's no restrictions now. You understand that? You function as a Scottish Zambian, and you also function as a Zambian in Zambia. But how do you use these things? Set up businesses which are legitimate. Look at resources over in Scotland which are exportable to Zambia. Look at services in Zambia which are exportable to Scotland, so that you also add value to the people around you, as well as adding to the GDP and GNP of both these countries. So like in the introduction services that we do as Amakaya Wingi, companies, multinational companies hire us. We charge them a fee, and we go spend part of that money in Zambia. So it means we are contributing to Zambia. If you start looking at the Forex side of things, we contribute. So as Scottish Zambians, you can do the same. This is how you are going to have an impact. And also we found that as a person in the diaspora, there are certain things that look very simple to you and I, but they can be of value once exported into Zambia. That is to say, what kind of equipment you have in your own home, begin in your house as well. Collect those ones. It could be very good printers which you're no longer using. You can collect them, ship them into Zambia. If you want to support a school, you can donate to a school. If you want to set up a business that will be able to sell some of these parts to help those in repairs, you can do that. That's a smaller scale. You can grow this. And also you have to look at the sectors. The sectors we target in Zambia are agriculture, mining, we are all in construction, tourism, and in particular, looking at which of these are legal to do, how do you do it, what are the policies, what are the guidelines, which of these require mega financial investment, and then we look at who can then be a financier for this, who can be the person or the company to run with this. These are in the pipeline. When you begin to think like this, you come out of your box. You don't need to be qualified in agriculture to do trade in agriculture. You can be the brain behind it and the financing scheme behind it. Then you engage those who are qualified to do it. So these are some of the things. And also we do link a lot with the Zambian High Commission. And there's a program in our college called Diaspora Management. It talks about how do you engage with embassies, high commissions. At the High Commission, we as Amakaya Wing engage with the Office of the Economic Counselor and also Trade and Investment Attaché, First Secretary. Why do we engage a lot with these two offices? It's because we are focused on trade and development. So this is our first port of call. If we want to do anything in Zambia, the best way to do is to look at what is the white paper is saying, what are the policies around what we want to do. Once we get an understanding of the policies, then we structure our vehicle according to the policies. We don't just fly into Zambia to do things. We want to see what the policy says, because it's expensive to fly in Zambia, plant something on the ground, and you find that actually it cannot work because the policy doesn't allow. It's better you're guided. So this way you begin to engage yourselves in Scotland with Mother Zambia on the ground by using the systems And also what we also do is when we go to Zambia, we visit the foreign office. Why do we visit the foreign office? Because this is the department of the Ministry of the Government of Zambia that looks after foreign matters. We're coming from abroad. We want to know what are the things they are looking to develop. How do we link into that? How can we support that? How can they support our effort? We also link into what we call Zambia Development Agency. There are so many quasi-agencies in Zambia that focus on development, but from the government side, we link with those. Why? Because this is where businesses, SMEs, and many others are linked to. For us to find a partner, to look for people to work with, we've got to go to see what these initiatives on the ground already do, so that we do not duplicate what's already there or do too much more than we should do. It's better to just go there and pick up a database after negotiations and then work with those people recommended. There are so many ways. So as Zambians living in Scotland, and I'm sure you're already doing this, enhance your learning and knowledge of the systems of Zambia. And in particular, use the Zambian High Commission effectively, the right offices for trade and investment and economic counseling. So this covers a bit about linking with high commissions, linking with government. But what about here in the UK, where we are based? Amaka Awingi does from time to time collaborate with the office of the mayor. Why do we call the mayor out to our meetings? To inform us, to see what we do, to inform us from their perspective of what they do, how we can link in. So local councils, we work with them. The last meeting in 2012, it was held in Wolverhampton. We invited the Office of Trade and Investment of the local council, and Mr. Patel came and talked to us. That way, we begin to identify what kind of investment is working in this country and what kind of investment targets they have for other nations. Peradventure, we as Amaka Awingi, Zambians living abroad, other countries that are on the board of Amaka Awingi can link into, because if something is already in the pipeline for development, it's much easier to link and move forward. So our mindset must now change from just talking to our family members, sending them £100 here, our Scottish money, and they are using maybe 40% on your project. So your project is not moving off the ground. I do not blame them, because the understanding that you think they have of you giving them money may be different from what you think they should be doing. And sometimes I say it's better to sit down and see who is qualified in the business that you want to do as a family. You can't just give somebody so much money, go and do this for me. You are sending them. Do you pay them? Do you have a contract? Or how are you going to share that the money when that project you are asking them to help you work out? So working with families must be done in a different way. Like I said in the book of Amaka, Every Zambian is a Millionaire, there's a chapter I've talked about how to work with families. I'll continue on this note, and I believe that as Zambians in Scotland, after this conversation, we can have more engagement where we see ourselves rise to a higher standard, rise to a place where we can engage with our community here productively, by no longer focusing our issues on by no longer focusing our minds on things that may not be productive, but we begin to seek to gain knowledge. We go to business conferences, we go to workshops which the councils in this country put on, how to develop communities. We engage and capture that knowledge. How do they do their things here that work so well? How can we learn from that? And how can we also export what we do very well? Because I believe that Zambia has got something that you, a Zambian living here, can import and teach the Scottish people and teach the Zambians that have left Zambia and live in Zambia abroad for a long time. So, before I continue, I just want to show you this very important clip, one of my visits to Zambia.